Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a topic that I'm finding really interesting at the moment, which is this. Have we stopped sleepwalking through life? And what I mean by that is that if you go all the way back about 500 years BC to Socrates, Socrates was the great philosopher. The Socratic method, many of you I'm sure are familiar with, was the fact that as a philosopher, Socrates would just ask questions. That's all he ever did. And he realized how little he knew and could quite quickly discover how little other people knew by just asking questions. And it's a method of questioning that's still in effect today. And much of the wisdom that flows through modern day self-help and self-development all roots in Socrates. He's brilliant, a great man. But he had this sort of theme in many ways to suggest that too many people are sleepwalking through life. Too many people are sleepwalking through life. And I love that concept because what he meant by that was that so many people, we just get trapped in these rhythms of life. You know, we inherit beliefs that often don't serve us, these limiting beliefs that we just sort of pick up as we go along. Like we get this cladding from government and society, and over time we just sort of become these almost drone-like individuals just sort of getting through, just sleepwalking through life, never pausing for long enough to question everything. Like Socrates, to ask those questions like, what is life all about? Why am I doing this job? You know, what's my relationships about? Those real big, deep questions. Most people are so busy sleepwalking through life, just getting from A to B, caught up in modern day living and society and the busyness of it all, that they never stop long enough to ask those big questions. So they get stuck sleepwalking through life across all types of industries and levels of wealth and income and all of those things. You'll be amazed. In the last 6 months to a year, I've worked with some unbelievable people in some unbelievable jobs, some unbelievable levels of income, right across the spectrum. Yet I continually hear the same thing played back to me. They're incredibly unhappy and unfulfilled and lacking in meaning and lacking in purpose. Doesn't make sense. How could that be? What are we doing wrong when we've got so much, or we've had so much up until, I think, just recently, where our lives have been turned upside down, right? And we're going to be fundamentally shaken at the core. And I think what that's going to do, my hope, in the title of this little get-together, is that I think it's going to wake a few people up. It's going to shake them from their core. Anyone that's ever struggled or had a huge obstacle in their life will know that often that is the catalyst to a rise after the fall. Right? We see this. It's a ubiquitous story throughout the great literature, the great works of art. There's this concept that we fall before we rise. Richard Rohr, the brilliant Franciscan monk, talks about this in his book Falling Upwards. David Brooks talks about it in The Second Mountain. Carl Jung constantly talks about the 2 stages of life and always refers in many ways to the fact that sometimes we have to fall pretty hard to actually like shatter all the illusions of the first half of life, to wake up, as it were, in regards to what Socrates said, to start to see things anew again, to open our eyes, to ask those big questions. And I think what's happened on a massive, massive scale, that people have been shaken. Whereas before, they had to be lucky or unlucky, whatever way you want to look at it in some ways, to have something almost happen to them. For example, all the work that I do at One You Know Beer, having helped hundreds of thousands of people now change their relationship with alcohol. Alcohol's a classic one that actually trips people up to the point it allows them to shatter that first half of life ego and think anew and think differently. And I think that's why we see so many of these wonderful transformations on the back of it. Changing your diet can have a similar effect. Moving your body sometimes can have a similar effect, where we just shatter the first half of life illusions and think anew. So my dream is that what's just happened to everyone, no one's escaped it, right? It's happening to everyone. Could be that moment when culturally, on a massive, massive societal level, everyone gets shaken a little bit. Everyone's sleepwalking, they get woken up to go, hold on a minute, what are we doing? What is this life thing all about? Why are we chasing all this material like fluff that's doing no good and that's destroying our planet? Why am I working 12 hours a day in a job that I hate? Or maybe it's a case that it will be forced upon people that no longer have their jobs or have to rethink everything, right? There's going to be a lot of hardship to follow. I'm not for 1 second saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be incredibly tough, by the way, for so many people. But there's nothing to say that in that grind, in that struggle, won't be the best thing that ever happened to lots of people, because they're waking up to go, do you know what's important? Spending time with loved ones is important. Connection is important. Sleep is important. Quality food, like love. We don't all need to travel here, far, there and everywhere. We maybe don't all need these fancy things, because in the last 2-3 weeks, following weeks, we're going to figure it out quite quickly that all the best things in life are around us anyway. They're free. Nature, outside, the sunshine, all of these wonderful things that we're blessed with, like love and connection and the ability to get online and do all this stuff. We don't need as much. We don't need to maybe travel as much. We don't need to consume as much. I'm just really excited for that part of our lives that I think many, many people are waking up right about now, and fundamentally they're going to be changed for the better. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be hardship to follow for all of us. There absolutely will be. But in that hardship, in that waking up, I think is a real opportunity for growth. I think it's going to be a really potentially hard time, but one that might make our world a better place to live in. And I'm really excited about it. And just to pull it back to Socrates, he was right. Too many people for too long have been sleepwalking through life. I think culturally, on a mass scale, people have just been woken up. I think that's pretty cool. Even last night, just clapping outside the house in the UK, we were clapping for the NHS, and to see all the neighbours out. You know, I'm getting to know my neighbours that I never knew before. Communities are building again on the back of this thing across the world, globally. This stuff is really important, and it's been lost due to this sleepwalking through life, and people are waking up. Anyway, I'm getting well excited there. I sort of got off on a tangent as usual, but hopefully that was remotely insightful. Let's just see who's on.